In this lesson, I'm going to go over the extract found freely on AQA's English language website. This is from the November 2021 Paper 1 extract or insert. Okay, so I'm going to go over with each of the 4 questions in mind, along with some ideas for how you might want to imitate this structure in the writing section to help you. Let's get started. So as we've read before, this extract is taken from the opening of Chimamanda Adichie's novel Half of a Yellow Sun, set in Nigeria in 1960. Ugwu, a 13-year-old boy, is starting work as a cleaner for a university professor in the city. And you can see all the lines are numbered, which helps you be able to draw boxes around the correct sections for each question. So first we find out that Master was a little crazy. We know that this is part of the answer for question 1. He had spent too many years reading books overseas, so he was a reader. He talked to himself in his office, so he liked to talk to himself. Did not always return greetings, so we can infer that he was rude. And he had too much hair. Ugwu's auntie said this in a low voice as they walked on the path. But he is a good man, she added, and as long as you work well, you will eat well. You will even eat meat every day. Now already as the reader, we're going to notice this and think, ooh, the fact that it's a specialty to eat meat every day shows us this is a very different world. Okay? Lines 5 to 15 is where we're supposed to be analyzing language. So already we can anticipate that there's going to be descriptive language in here, and we want to try to identify that. First, something good from the beginning, something from the middle, and something from the end. Ugwu did not believe that anybody, not even this master he was going to live with, ate meat every day. He did not disagree with his auntie, though, because he was too choked with expectation. Choked with expectation. Well, he's not actually choking. He's choked with expectation, which connects to his emotion. So we could zoom in on the word choked. It's metaphorical language. We're supposed to connect, metaphorical. We're supposed to connect this to the idea of being overwhelmed. Okay, so this is where we consider, well, what are some synonyms of choked? Gagging, gagged, out of control, right? So you might have an element of panic. So these are synonyms and connotations connected to the word choked. And if you explain those, you can get marks. Too busy imagining his new life away from the city. They had been walking for a while now since they got off the lorry at the motor park, and the afternoon sun burned the back of his neck. So we get description of the sun, burned the back of his neck. So we've got the repetition of the B, which is some alliteration there, which connects to our sense of sound. And of course, it's burning his neck, because the sun can be very powerful. So we could zoom in on this and consider connotations of burned. So it's hot, intense, deadly, really, burned. Okay, something that can create injury. But he did not mind. Look at that short, sharp sentence. It separates the long descriptive sentences there. He was prepared to walk hours more in even hotter sun. He had never seen anything like the streets that appeared after they went past the university gates. Streets so smooth and tarred that he itched to lay his cheek down on them. Now, he didn't actually want to do that, but he was really impressed with them. Okay? Smooth. Streets so smooth. Again, that's the sense of sound. And we could zoom in on the word smooth and say lots about it. He would never be able to describe to his sister. So if you lay your cheek down on them, this is quite an intimate gesture, right? Shows pleasure. He's taking pleasure in this. He thinks they're gorgeous. This is a luxury. He would never be able to describe to his sister Anulika how the bungalows here were painted the color of the sky, which of course is blue, and sat side by side like polite, well-dressed men. Now there's a simile. We're always looking for those similes. Chances are there will be a metaphor or a simile somewhere. Sat side by side. Again, we've got the repetition of the S, the sibilants. Sat side by side like well-dressed men. How the hedges separating them were trimmed so flat on top that they looked like tables wrapped with leaves. Again, we have another simile. So you could connect the houses like polite, well-dressed men. You could zoom in on the word polite. Tables wrapped in leaves. Again, tables, polite, well-dressed men. This is civilization, society. And he comes from the country, so he's probably overwhelmed and impressed by how fancy everything seems. Okay, so if you can identify that, you can get really good marks. You don't have to identify everything. Aim for identifying one thing from the beginning, one thing from the middle, one thing from the end, or two, and saying everything you can about it. Zoom in and explode the words and the quotes and say lots about it. Let's move down. His auntie walked faster. So here you can see a shift, right? So we started with the description of the master. Let me change my color here. So first we have a description. And then we zoom in on his emotions. So I'm just highlighting the changes in structure here. And then there's a shift to their physical actions. His auntie walked faster, her slippers making slap, slap sounds that echoed in the silent street. Wow, this writer really likes sibilants. Ugu wondered if she too could feel the cold tar getting hotter underneath through her thin soles. They went past the sign, Odom Street, and Ugu mouthed street, as he did whenever he saw an English word that was not too long. He smelt something sweet, heady, as they walked into the compound. It was sure it came from the white flowers cluttered on the bushes at the entrance. The bushes were shaped like slender hills. The lawn glistened. Butterflies hovered overhead. So there's a focus on the sensory experience throughout here. Okay, so he's on a journey and he's entering this compound here. Then we have a shift to dialogue. I told Master you will learn everything very fast, his auntie said. Ugu nodded attentively, although she had already told him the story of how his good fortune came about. While she was sweeping the corridor in the mathematics department a week ago, she heard Master say that he needed a houseboy to do his cleaning, and she immediately said she could help, speaking before his typist or office messenger could offer to bring someone. I will learn fast, Auntie, Ugu said. He was staring at the car in the garage. A strip of metal ran around its blue body like a necklace. Remember what you will answer when he calls to you is yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ugu repeated. This highlights, this is a memory, right? So he's remembering something here. So we've shifted to dialogue connected to memory. And then again, transition back to the present. They were standing before the glass door and they've stopped moving, right? Ugu held back from reaching out to touch the cement wall to see how different it would feel from the mud walls of his mother's hut that still bore the faint patterns of molding fingers. For a brief moment, he wished he were back there now in his mother's hut, under the dim coolness of the thatch roof, or in his auntie's hut, the only one in the village with a corrugated iron roof. His auntie tapped on the glass. Ugu could see the white curtains beneath the door. A voice said in English, "Yes? Come in." They took off their slippers before walking in. Ugu had never seen a room so wide. Despite the brown sofas arranged in a semicircle, the side tables between them, the shelves crammed with books, and the center table with a vase of red and white plastic flowers, the room still seemed to have too much space. Master sat in an armchair, wearing a vest and a pair of shorts. He was not sitting upright, but slanted, a book covering his face, as though oblivious that he had just asked people in. "Good afternoon, sir. This is the child," Ugu's auntie said. Master looked up. He pulled off his glasses. "The child?" "The houseboy, sir. He will work hard," his auntie said. "He is a very good boy. Thank you, sir." Master grunted in response, watching Ugu with his auntie, and his auntie with a faintly distracted expression, as if their presence made it difficult for him to remember something important. Ugu's auntie patted Ugu's shoulder, whispered that he should do well, and turned to the door. Ugu stood by the door, waiting. Now, question 4, as you will see freely online on the AQA website, is about Ugu being excited at first and then experiencing a change. So the change is firstly physical, because they were walking and now they're standing. He held back from reaching out. For a brief moment, he wished he were back there now. Now it doesn't say why, but we can assume that he's a little bit scared. There's a bit of fear, because anytime someone wants their mother, they're scared. There's some fear. And then he meets the master, and master clearly had forgotten. This is a huge deal to Ugu, but not to the master. There was a book covering his face. He was distracted. And then his auntie promises that he is a very good boy, so the pressure is on. This boy is going to feel the pressure. And the master grunted. You could say loads about this grunting to make him scared or fearful or to want to run away. He's still not focused on the boy, so you could highlight on the faintly distracted. And then Ugu's auntie patted his shoulder, whispered he should do well, and then she left. So he's suddenly alone. And he's at the mercy of this master. And that's how it ends. So it's a cliffhanger here. But we can definitely see a change. He was very excited to see the city at the beginning, and then suddenly he goes quiet, and he wants his mommy, and then he meets this master, and we've got loads of language to highlight the fact that this master is not really that interested in him. His auntie leaves him all alone, and suddenly he just has to wait there, and he's expected to be amazing. And that's the shift, and that's how you can show, yeah, this is my evaluation of this. There is definitely a shift. And it starts when he wants to go home. I hope that's helpful.